Namaste. I'm Dr. Robert, and today on 5-ish Minutes with Dr. Robert, my subject is depression from an Ayurvedic perspective. Depression is, as with many other disease conditions, a continuum. You may have someone who is very mildly depressed, and you may have someone who is very clinically depressed. It appears that approximately 4% of the world population is clinically depressed. But when you add in those other people who are showing symptoms of depression but are not at the point where they can be overtly defined as depressed, we have a much larger percentage, to be sure. One of the differences, in fact, probably the main difference between how modern medicine and how Ayurveda looks at depression is that in Ayurveda, we very much feel that we need to look at it from the point of view of the doshas. And though I don't like to look at the doshas for everything, in the context of depression, I think the understanding that there are 3 basic types of depression is very useful. The first is Vata type depression, and that happens when there is too much Vata. And this will manifest in erratic behavior. This will manifest in becoming depressed because of trying to do too many things or be too active or juggle too many activities and feeling an reasonable, from the objective perspective, inability to do so. The Pitta type depression is generally associated with being very goal-oriented, by anger instead of fear, having a flavor of anger instead of, as in Vata depression, a flavor of fear. And in the case of Pitta, very commonly it's burnout, a person who is striven to overachieve, and then after using up all of their ojas, realizes they don't have the ability to act at that level anymore, and they become depressed. It's only the Kapha type of depression that is the typical, heavy, immobile, emotional, difficult to move around sort of depression that is so often characterized in modern medicine as the only kind of depression. So when we're trying to work with a person who is depressed, they may need SSRIs. They may need some kind of intervention, of course, or they may need something like psilocybin or iboga or something to totally transform the way that they think. But even more important than trying to focus on a high-level intervention like this, the first thing to do is do the basic things to bring the body and the mind back into as much harmony as possible before then trying to determine what kind of medication should or should not be implicated in this context. So with a Vata person, we want to have the usual Vata relieving items. We want to have soup and abhyanga and getting plenty of rest and getting measured exercise and having a daily routine. For Pitta, we want to be cooling down. We want the person to be understanding, as with Vata, that they need to move slowly. But they not only need to move slowly, but they need to not be projecting themselves forward all the time. They need to learn how to remain exactly where they are at a time when they need to be where they are and not try to be in all places, managing everything all the time. And in the case of Kapha, sometimes just dragging them out of the house and taking them to the gym and forcing them to exercise may assist them to start moving around their prana in such a way that they will find benefit from that. The challenges in depression, as in any other serious disease, are that there's an insufficiency of tejas for digesting everything, all the experiences and the mental states that we need to digest. an abnormality of prana, so there's not a sense of vitality, which will make you want to go out and do whatever it is you need to do when you need to do it. And there is, especially in the modern world, an insufficiency of ojas. And there is very likely to be a bunch of physical and mental ama, which needs to be digested at least initially to some degree before any kind of new circulation can be established. So Ayurveda and modern medicine can work together very well to facilitate the actual movement of someone who's depressed, not just into a state of being medicated and warehoused as a depressed person being medicated, but rather to actually try to have some kind of resolution of that depression by means of nidana, parivarjana, removal of the cause. Om Namah Shivaya.